The 1987 Constitution of the Philippines states in Article 2, Section 26 that the state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. And in the year 2025, somehow we have still not figured it out. Political dynasties are where members of the same family repeatedly hold elected positions, either simultaneously or sequentially, in the same political office or across different positions all over the country. There are multiple reasons we should not be allowing this. In my speech, I'll present three main discussions. The first is on debunking the idea of legacies. A lot of people say that because they grew up around politics, these members of political dynasties might have better political prowess. The first thing you need to ask is what really was their exposure to politics? Because if it was highly positive and sheltered, then it might not be a true reflection of what a lot of regular people have to go through on a day to day. It might even be limited because they view it through the eyes of their successful family members in positions of power. It might even be skewed in favor of their politics, because if they are corrupt, they will view this as normal. If they are benevolent, they might assume to be the Messiah that is brought about by this world through their family to continue the good works. If they are malicious, they might even view it as something that they are entitled to because it is some birthright. More importantly, we also need to ask, is their governance the same one that we need? Because there might have been a time where we celebrated maybe their father or their grandfather or whoever else is in their family, but times constantly change. And it's difficult to assume that the politician we needed before is the same kind that we might need now. A lot of people also say that these people deserve to be there because they have the right to run. You have to realize, though, that this right has never been without its limits. We already don't allow people to run under certain conditions. They have to be of a certain age. They have to be able to prove that they've lived in a country for a certain number of years. And yes, that's just like basic considerations. We also have to consider that we have term limits, which in spirit have been instituted to prevent overstaying your welcome in a political position. This just proves that your right to run is not absolute. So people who claim this cannot use this as a justification for having a political dynasty set in place. But public service is also not limited to a political position. If these family members really want to help, you can volunteer and create your own NGO. You can support existing causes. You can promote democracies by actually giving other individuals a chance to run. And even if they have the right to run, it's not just about the rights. It's about their capacity as a politician. Which leads me to number two. The second discussion is about how there are inherent limitations to their political performance because of their background and history as part of a political dynasty. The first thing to consider under this is that there is going to be some level of clientelism that exists in that family. Yes, it happens all the time. Clientelism is not unique to political dynasties, and we are well aware of that here in the country, but it's about degrees and extents. It's much harder to cut off family members that you disagree with, for instance, because unlike a party mate that you can just cut off, these are individuals you will have to see in a family reunion that is tied to your name. Even the benevolent people still end up becoming beholden to their names because maneuvering will be focused on protecting your name first and the society second. Look at all the campaigns that go into last name recall. Look at all the maneuvering certain politicians have to do to save their name. You might say, isn't this normal for any politician though? Well, first of all, it shouldn't be. But even if it is normal, the existence of term limits already promote the idea that there needs to be a point in time where your name stops mattering and you focus on serving the people instead. But that's very rarely happening here because you need to keep society second because you are holding on to the name for someone else in your family to take your place. It also means that the family's business ends up being yours. It's much harder to have true discourse and democracy when you have to ensure you do not offend the people in your family or the families your family have married into. This is the idea of a fat political dynasty, and we have tons of those here in our country. It also actively limits your ability as an individual to make the best choices because there are multiple factors that you have to consider that come as baggage for having a certain last name. You have to care about your family's resources. Maybe you have to care about your future children. You might even have to care about your life. This brings me to the third and last discussion. There's a very real possibility of abuse emerging from this. Now, I know this relies on people not acting benevolently, and it's unfair to assume that every member of a political dynasty is inherently evil, but we cannot deny that having that position, whether it's you, whether it's someone that you're related to, gives you some level of power that other people don't. It gives you a level of finances. It gives you a level of connections, whether or not you reject the finances. It also means that it becomes much easier for you to engage in corruption. More importantly, it also erodes our democracies as a whole, because as more power is accumulated, the harder it is to overthrow and correct those people who are in positions of power. Newer politicians struggle to match the capacities of these dynasties in campaigning. Even when they can, they are often sabotaged by these individuals and these individuals' family members and the other members of the families that they've married into who have an incentive to keep their family political businesses going. And even when they win, they will eventually need to align with a political family in order to maintain their power. It's a black hole that seemingly corrupts all it touches, not just out of malice, but out of its own survival as a system. As of now, we can't snap our fingers and get rid of these dynasties, though God knows we have tried multiple times, but they still play by the rules of democracy to some extent. So the best way to beat them is to just not vote them. Thanks.